All right, ladies and gentlemen, trickle on in. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. I'm Andrew M. Jr. and welcome to Rambunctious Episode 1. This is the first time we're doing the like a podcast sort of deal. So welcome to my room. You know, a lot of you guys don't really see a lot of the room. So I got some pictures back there. Right here, my buddy Gary from Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Smite, World of Warships. We played a lot of games together. He burned that out of wood. That's kind of cool. The wood burning. And then I got a bunch of other pictures mounted there as well. So anyway, so again, welcome to Rambunctious. This is a podcast I've been wanting to do for a long time now. And it's basically just me talking. And, you know, this is meant for you guys to kind of listen to on the road, wherever you guys are, at work and whatnot, and just talk about everyday things. And just kind of go through and just analyze stuff, and also just, you know, kind of pick and choose what we talk about in the world, because obviously there's a lot of podcasts already out there talking about, like, you know, world economics, world problems, and family issues, and all this other stuff. So we're going to keep it really personalized, in my opinion. I don't want to get really generic. I want to, you know, dive deep into the real world, and not, you know, because I'm not somebody that's upper class. I don't make a ton of money that, you know, I'm kind of, I'd be pretty much like displaced from reality, the general reality, because obviously realities are varied. You know, like somebody making 100K is different. You know, has a different view on life than someone that's making 20K a year. So we kind of, I want to keep things relatable. So Rambunctious is just kind of I thought of the name one day. I thought it was kind of funny. And it's a very interesting definition, because it's like I'm completely different than, you know, than that word. But I'll look it up here just to make sure that I'm not uh misdefining the word. Uncontrollably exuberant and boisterous. That's I would not consider myself that, but I think it's a funny play on word also, because my online name is Rambo, so I thought it was kind of funny. But that's why the name. So welcome to episode 1. I first and foremost want to say that none of this would be possible. This idea wouldn't be possible without the fans, the followers on Twitch, the amazing camaraderie that I have with the YouTube peeps, you know. And yeah, I have a lot of fun meeting you guys, and hopefully you guys in this way kind of get to meet me off stream. So how I'm doing this is I'm streaming technically, but it's unlisted. So then I'll make it public once the video is done and whatnot, so you guys can kind of watch it whenever you want. I don't want you guys to have to be like, I gotta watch this live. So obviously I have my live content, and I have my commentary videos, my highlights, and all that stuff. But you know, I've gotten a lot of really, like, a lot of support with the Destroyer Academy, and the different commentary episodes that I have for the Fleet Network. So, but I'm going to start from the beginning, because this video is really meant for all the new people that are coming in to the stream and into the content, into our world here. And I first want to shout out my second channel, Rambo Nation, that is not run by me. It's run by my amazing friend, OG's Gaming. You guys can find him on Twitch. I believe he also has his own YouTube channel. Very, very close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys can go over there, OGS Gaming. Dude's been through a lot, you know, and we've been very, very good friends for 6 years now. and we both started streaming around the same time. I think he started streaming a little earlier, and he was editing videos and whatnot. But so again, my name is Angel Rambo Jr. I am currently 31 years old. I live in Wisconsin in the United States, and I have made a lot of mistakes in my life. Okay, hence kind of like my quiet demeanor. I do like to share because I like to teach, but I like learning more than I like teaching. But I also see that there is a value to wanting to teach after you have learned, because obviously you get to practice what you learn and whatnot, but once you practice it, once you master that, and then I just take it upon myself to then teach, because I know what it's like to not know. I know what it's like to be ignorant, and I'm always going to be that way. I'm not going to change that because I've gotten way too many good things in my life to let go of that really good quality, because I don't have a ton of very good qualities, but I like to maximize what I do have. So I'm Puerto Rican through and through. I mean, I'm not a traditional Puerto Rican guy because I didn't grow up in Puerto Rico, or any one of our expanded territories like New York City, Connecticut, all the Eastern Coast, Pennsylvania. I didn't grow up around Puerto Ricans. I grew up around Mexicans, Hondurans, Venezuelans, Colombians. I grew up around a lot of Asians, a lot of blacks, a lot of um, different cultures in Wisconsin where I'm at, and I was very, very fortunate to have met so many different people, and I love everybody. When I see somebody, I see their soul. I don't see the outside. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I moved here in 1999 and been here ever since. I was like 4 years old when my parents brought us here, and there wasn't really like a rhyme or reason for it other than the fact that there just was work here at that time, and my dad wanted to um, not be a cop anymore because it was very dangerous. He was a cop down in Puerto Rico around that time. There was a lot of bad things that were happening, and my mom was really scared for his life. So, um, because he spoke both languages, came up to Wisconsin because they offered a really good position, and he was able to kind of obviously get room and board. And then we came up here and just been here ever since. I got a brother that graduated from Princeton University. Super happy for him. Daniel's Daniel's his name. He has a really good following on TikTok and Instagram, and I'm super excited for him. And my other brother is starting his own business next year. He has his business now, but he's going to go full time next year, detailing cars. He's doing just an amazing job. He recently made me an uncle a few months ago, and super excited for that. That's a fun job to have whenever I am called to do that. Um, so a little bit about my career. I worked at Walmart when I was 19 years old, and then from there, there was a stint where I wasn't working, and I went to um, a help center that allowed me the opportunity to get in front of people that mentored me back on track to work in construction. So I had to kind of change the way that I think. I had to mentor with some really good people, understand what mentoring was. I do have a mentorship series for those of you who are paid members um, of the channel that you guys can go ahead and look at. I believe I have 3 episodes on there already. But anyway, so I went and did that class, 6-week class, 160 hours, and I was the first one in the class to graduate from it and get a job. Got a job and still working in that field, no longer at that particular company, but now I'm with a different company that pays a little bit better and had more leadership opportunities, because they're a smaller company owned by a family. So they had a lot more opportunities for people that are like me, that are wanting to stand out and wanting to do really good for the community. So I test asphalt. I test the rocks and sand that go in it, called aggregates. Aggregates just means processed material. So it goes through like the crusher, the wash plant. And I also, because I moved to this other company, I was able to then learn how to do concrete. The other company only did asphalt, so this one does asphalt and concrete. So I got to be cross trained in both, be proficient in both. Obviously, my mastery comes from the aggregate side of things and asphalt because of the 4 years that I did previous. But learning concrete has been awesome. And the one thing I don't like about concrete is because they're year round, you also have to test it in the cold, so that kind of sucks. But other than that, it's a pretty sweet gig, especially when you get paid more money to do more things. So, as it stands right now, I'm currently the lead technician of 3 that works strictly with the asphalt side of things when the season kicks off. So, which it did today. So that was it's pretty awesome opportunity. All 3 of us were 3 different ages. One's younger than me, one's older, and we have a great camaraderie between the 3 of us. So I started streaming my second year of my career here because that was the year that COVID hit really bad, and I lost a lot of money at work because of the hours. So I had a lot of time, and I'm like, well, I might as well start doing this. And within a week, I got affiliate, so that was nice. And been streaming ever since then, and it's been a blast. It's a nice side gig, but before that, it was like a really passionate hobby of mine. I love making content, and I did a lot of studying on what other people are doing that were really successful in the business, and I try to kind of make that my own because I don't want to be like, I don't want to be like a copy and paste, So I didn't do exactly what everyone else was doing. I didn't play all those games. I didn't, do all those things that everyone else is doing to be successful. I kind of just wanted to tread my own path, but also like take note on what other people are doing and what the quote unquote competition is in the industry. But I play a game called World of Warships Legends. I've been playing it since year 1. Not since day 1 though. I remember back in the day when it came out in 2019, April was the beta for that year, and I believe it launched in August. But I started playing like a month after, so it's a free to play game. It's a cross platform, PS4, Xbox One, you know, all the console systems. It's basically just an imported console version of the PC version of World of Warships that everyone is familiar with from 2015 when that launched. So 4 years later, they made the console version. Wargaming's done a really good job building this game up over the last 5 years, actually 6 now. But yeah, I've been playing it ever since. I've had some breaks here and there. I played a lot of Battlefield FPS. I retired, quote unquote, from Call of Duty back in 2020, about a year and a half after the Modern Warfare 19 came out. It just got too crazy, and yeah, it was interesting to say the least. I'm glad I got off the train when I did, because it's not the same Call of Duty that I played when I was a kid. So that's kind of like my gaming career, my work career, a little bit of my family. I'm the oldest of 3 boys. My parents, they're not together, but they each have their own lives, and they're doing well. They're healthy for the most part, but yeah, I want to kind of get into a little bit of why I'm creating the podcast, so you guys understand the vision and what I want to not necessarily get out of it per se, but what I want to put out there. So I want to create a space that you guys can kind of comment below in the video and just put questions like what you guys want me to talk about in the next podcast. Obviously keep it keep it in a certain vibe so that we're not too controversial. I'm not trying to create a conflict per se, but there's always going to be conflict no matter what. You can't avoid it, but there are things that we can avoid, and I'd like to kind of keep it that way because I stay in my own little corner. I don't talk smack. I just do my own thing, And then if you want to follow me this way, great. If not, that's okay. We'll see you on the next go around or whatever. But one thing that I always ask people to do in the channel is like, comment, subscribe. That's the three basics. But also, share the video with somebody that you think that they might like what they see. If you like what you see here in my entire channel as a whole, bring somebody along with you. And because you got to understand, like, my philosophy this channel is not about me. Yes, I'm kind of like the director or whatever, but like directors that make movies, the movies are not about them. They're making it to entertain, they're making it to educate, they're making it to get people to come together into a very a common ground per se. I want to get people in a room where we start talking, we start having conversations, and we're not glued to our phones, instead of and if you are going to be glued to your phones, I want to create something that you guys can grow from, and instead of just watching some funny videos on TikTok for 20 hours a day, I want to create something that you guys can learn from, that you guys can interact with, so that's why I create content, so that I get people together, I bring people together to do good things. I don't bring people together to go prank someone in the Philippines, right? Or prank the cops and the whatever for clicks and whatever. So we might not get the views that everyone else gets because they're doing outlandish things or they're crazy. But I want to create a space where you guys can kind of take a break from all that and just have a conversation, and kind of go through and kind of vet what's happening in your life and have some help that you need. So a little bit of emotional background. I want to first preface this with, like, I will always try to be constructive. I'm never going to criticize people. I might disagree, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to judge you. I'm not a judge. I don't think anybody on this planet is a judge other than the officials. But in terms of, like, a cosmic judge or whoever you believe in, I believe in God. So whatever happens, in life, you can, for me, I don't mind anyone telling me what they've done, if they want to talk about it or whatever, because I will never look at you and say I'm better than you, because I never did that. I have never ever once done that to anyone, because that's just something that has happened to me, that people will put me down because of their own insecurities, but also because, yeah, I did something fucked up. Okay, does that make you better than me because you didn't do it? I don't do that. I don't compare like that. I compare myself to myself. So, myself to 6 years ago, kind of how Matthew McConaughey did with that speech, the very famous speech, kind of a meme speech in a way, but he talked about, the hero 10 years from now and the hero 10 years from that and all that stuff. That's kind of how I want to be remembered, as somebody that does that just keeps looking forward as someone who's trying to be better, in 10 years. But so with that said, I want to share a story that is a little bit controversial in my personal life. I'm not going to get into specific details of who this person is, because a lot of you guys don't know we're not in the same city. We're not in the same, state, and we do things a little differently in different places, so we might not ever meet, or we might not ever share the same friends IRL. So so how do I start this? I'll just start from the beginning, when this whole thing, kind of got out of hand. I was on my way back from a job site that I was working on, and I got a text message saying, verbatim, On the 14th of February, when you kissed me, I didn't appreciate it. Don't do it again. Okay. So this message was sent to me by someone that I have worked with for 5 years, a little bit over 5 years. And I looked at the message and I had to reread it like 4 or 5 times. My first instinct was, okay, so this particular person, like we've been friends for that long. We I know her personal life. I know what she's gone through. She's cried on my shoulder. I always looked at her as somebody who's like a really good friend at work, right? Someone that I could trust with stuff. Someone that they knew that they could trust me and whatnot. So this person texts me that, and I looked at the message, and my first instinct was to reply back, "LOL, very funny," right? Because I'm a married man. That's one thing I don't think I said that, but I'm married. I've been married for 5 years. I'm gonna be six. No, sorry, it's gonna be 5 years next month. Sorry. And been with her since I was 18 years old. So my entire adult life, I've been with one woman. So this she texted me that, and my first instinct was to text back, "LOL, very funny." Now I am glad that I didn't text that back, because my second thought was, she's not funny. Like, this particular friend of mine, she doesn't make jokes. She's always dramatic. Like, she's always one of those that's just like, "Oh, hey, how you doing today, Casey?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know. I feel like a piece of crap, blah blah blah," like every single day. Like, she's just not a positive person. There's always something wrong. There's always this and that. So, over the course of the last few years, I've been kind of distancing myself as a friend and more of more towards a coworker. So the messages between us have been incredibly scarce. But so she messages me that. I reply back with, "I don't know what you're talking about, wrong number." Right? So because the reasoning for that is, I thought that maybe she sent that to the wrong person. Okay. So I got back a response, and in her response, she used my full name. Now, she's never done that, so I knew it instinctively that this was a trap, that she was trying to get me to say something so that she can screenshot and use it against me. Now, the truth is that nothing happened between her and I. I'm not attracted to her at all physically, especially with how repulsive she is personality-wise. For me, or enough for me to not ever think of that. So the fact that she messaged that didn't make any sense to me at all, and I was kind of like, all right, what is happening here? I don't understand. So she proceeds to say, "Well, I got messages from you and this and that." I'm like, you ain't got no messages from me. What? I don't even know what you're talking about, because I never messaged you about any of that. Nothing ever happened. I don't know what you're talking about. Immediately, I call HR, which was the right move in hindsight. And I let them know what's going on. I have a meeting with them like a few hours later after that, and I tell them everything that's going on. I show them all the messages that I've ever sent her over the last 5 years, and there's nothing in there that you would take a certain type of way, So what had happened was, I love that term, is that on Valentine's Day, the day before, actually, she was making a joke, or not a joke, but she made like a comment, like a sly comment, saying, "Oh yeah, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and my roommate and I, like, we don't have Valentine's." So I know them, and I said, "Well, I can give you guys something tomorrow. Like, I don't want you guys to be without a gift." So I get a bag of stuff, and I buy it for them, right? So obviously I bought more things for my wife, but in hindsight, that was a bad move on my part. I should never have done that, because I didn't realize that she felt a certain type of way about me. But because we don't talk, we've never once met outside of work. We never met, for drinks or nothing like that. Because I don't drink. I don't go to alcohol. Like, I don't go to bars. I don't hang out with friends like that unless it's like at a restaurant. But normally it's with somebody that my wife knows, or like we go as a group or something like that. But that I can't even remember the last time I did that without the wife. So she says, um, where was I? Oh, so she says that after I gave her the gifts, that I took her into a hallway and kissed her. But what's funny is that she said that in her statement that I told her to close her eyes and put out her hands, and then I kissed her then. And I found this out from a police officer that I had to go meet, because apparently she went to the police with this, even though I had gone to HR. She didn't even go to HR. She went to my boss, our boss, and then she went to HR because they called her in after I had talked to them. But she avoided them like a plague. Okay? So, but she never told them all this stuff. And then when she had called and by that I mean that she didn't, what I'm going to tell you that she told the police, she didn't tell HR. They're like two different stories. It was weird, but let me explain. So I go to HR, have the meeting with them, tell them, and they have a meeting with her, and then it's a he said, she said thing, right? Obviously, that's what it turns into every single time. But because I have good rapport with everyone, a lot of people tended to side with me, which I didn't care about that. I just wanted the truth out so that everyone knew that I'm not a creep, that I don't know what she's talking about, right? This just came out of nowhere because there was no lead up, right? What's funny is that then behind everyone's back, she goes to the police. The police call me like 5 days later. So I get a call, no caller ID on a Sunday night at like 8 o'clock. I'm like, I'm not answering that. I think it's a scam, right? I'm streaming. So then I after it hangs up, then there's a voicemail. I'm like, okay, normally scam people don't send voicemails, right? So he's a guy who wants to talk, whatever. So I call him the next day, ask him what's up, and then we meet that following weekend. So I tell him everything. He tells me everything she said, and I'm like, just so you know, she didn't say none of this to HR because they would have confronted me about it. She said that I had like physically, like pushed her. I don't know, like not pushed her, but like folded her over and then grabbed her butt and told her, "Does your boyfriend do it like that?" I was like, what's funny about this is that for people that know me on stream, I would never do that. Not even to like any one of my like guy friends that like, that I'm close with or whatever, like as a joke. I would never even do that because I've seen people in my life in front of me get groped and like be like overpowered in a way that I could never do that to anybody, because I've defended people and it's like, wait, what are you doing, bro? Like, you can't be doing that, okay? If you guys aren't together, stop touching. Stop, like, what are y'all doing? I don't even do that to my wife, dude. Like, she don't like that stuff, man. It's like, why are you accusing me of this all of a sudden? HR asked me that question in that meeting. They asked me, so why do you think she's doing this? Why do you think she's accusing you now? And I said, okay, I think she's doing this as a smokescreen because she's already being investigated for for her lack of work ethic. She calls in every single week. She's been doing this for the last 3 years, but nobody knows because we have a pretty lenient system in the lab. So they don't really keep track of that attendance stuff. But we're all kind of getting sick of it because every time she calls in, it's because her son's throwing up or she's throwing up or this and that, whatever. Okay, cool. And so we do our own job, but the problem is that because she calls in, then we have to do her job. So there's no way in hell that I would ever look at, somebody like that and go, I'm going to kiss you. It's like, one, again, you're repulsive because you're not professional. You're not courteous to everybody else. You keep banking on the fact that people have pity on you because you're a single mom. It's like, that shouldn't be the case, because I know plenty of single moms that bust their ass. They don't make excuses at work, right? Okay, setting that aside. Remember I told you guys that she texted me that message, right? A week before. A week before. Okay? Now, this is 2 months after February 14th. That's what she accused me of, right? Okay. A week before she texted me that message. Okay, that message that was 2 months after February 14th. A week before. She so February 14th, she says, I guess her, right? Okay. So it was the message that she messaged me, what was like late March, is when she messaged me, hey, on February 14th, you never know. Okay, so just to get you guys a timeline, okay? So almost 2 months have passed, and she messages me that. A week before that message, she asks me to pick her up to go to a CPR class. Help me make that make that make sense, chat. Okay? How does that make any sense? How would, if I am so abusive and I'm somebody that you know, has hurt her in the past physically and had made her feel like a piece of meat and this and that, why would you then say, hey, can I ride with you to the CPR class? That was the nail in the coffin. I showed that to HR. Here's the message, right? And literally how it goes is that conversation happened because she went to CPR class an hour early. I was still at home getting ready. I went over to the lab. On my way to the lab, she messaged me and said, hey, are you on your way to the lab? Okay, well, then I'm going to meet you at the lab, and I can ride with you there. If I was so abusive, why would you ask me that? Then there's no messages between that and then her accusation message. That's it. There's no messages in between that in that week at all, other than work stuff that like was on our work phones in the work group text that everyone could see. That had to do with the job and all that stuff. But anyways, so I told HR, I think she's just running out of excuses for her behavior, that now she's throwing me under the bus and giving you guys a, how do you say that? Like a distraction while she comes up with more excuses. I say this same story to the police officer, and he tells me, hey, you done a good job chronologically, time stamping things. You know exactly when she got hired, because I helped her actually get the job to where I'm at, because we both worked together at the other job. And then when I moved over to this one, she was having issues over there. I was like, well, you have credentials and whatnot. You can just come over here, because we got a person that's leaving, so we'll have a spot. I helped her get that job. And I told her before she got it, I said, just so you know, like, this is my name on your, it's like, because I got paid for her transferring over, as like a referral, right? Like, I did all this work for you as a friend to help you with that, and then train you when you're here, and then like put up with the fact that you just could not hold your own weight, like you couldn't pull your own weight, and we still put up with that for 3 years. Like, no company would put up with it for that long. All the times you've called in, all the times that you were throwing up, it's like because you weren't healthy. So then, and then when you're at work, you hurt your back because you're not. It's just so many different things that they just kept letting slide, and then it turned into this. And I said, I'm sorry, but you guys should have fired her a long time ago. And I said that, I said that. I was like, because she kept talking to me about what they were talking about in HR, and she shouldn't have been doing that. But I knew things, so I told them what I knew. It's like, if you're gonna throw me under the bus, like, you better not miss. All right, you better actually throw me under the bus, because otherwise, what I mean. So I had so much like stacked up against her. Here's the Joker of the entire thing, the Joker card. There's a guy that works out of one of our job sites that apparently has had a romantic fling with said person, and a lot of people were talking about it. Now, I'm obviously the last one to know, because I don't gossip. I don't care about what you're doing. Just want you to do your job. I don't care what you're doing outside of work, whatever. Just do your job, right? This guy, he kept trying to get things out of me over the last, few months before all this was going on. And I didn't put two and two together until he slipped up and in front of a bunch of people at the plant, the concrete plant, he said he said something that I could tell he regretted. But he kept telling me, "Oh, you guys are trying to get her fired? I heard you guys are trying to get her fired." I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, so I know what's going on, but in my head, I'm thinking, how does he know that that's happening? But it's not that we're trying to get her fired. It's that, like, you should be held accountable for your horrible work ethic and the fact that it's affecting other people's lives in the lab, right? Okay, that's one. Two, how does he know that any of that's going on, right? So the plant foreman goes, "Hey, man, I noticed you've been asking a lot of questions about her. Like, you guys got something?" It's like, "Oh, no, no, she's just been texting me." Why does she have your number? Because as a lab technician, we don't need the driver's numbers. We don't need their numbers. We need the plant foreman. We never need to talk to the driver. Like, we don't have anything to do with the drivers. Excuse me. And excuse me. So, um, that's when I knew, or I should have known, that something was going on. Now, fast forward. Okay, she gets fired because they caught her sleeping on the job. This was during the investigation that's happening. She gets fired because she's sleeping on the job. She messages the foreman and said, "Hey, by the way, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate all this stuff. By the way, uh, um, what did she say? Like, by the way, thank the driver. Then she said the driver number. Thank him for getting me fired." In my head, I'm thinking, even now, after you've been caught lying, after you've been fired, you still won't take accountability for your actions? Like, there's people that were happy to see her go. I was not, because it's not about her. It's about the kids. She has 3 kids. Okay. What I felt bad for was the fact that these kids have to grow up with 3 horrible parents, because 2 dads and a mom. Horrible parents that have, and when I say parent, I just meant like horrible. Like, what I mean by that is that they're a horrible example of how to be. All 3 of them make excuses. One of them makes excuses to not see the kids. The other one makes excuses that he does too much, and then she doesn't do enough. These kids get kicked out of daycare every single week, so then she has to leave early to go. It's like they get kicked out, and then they're expelled from daycare. Do you understand how bad you got to be as a kid to get expelled from daycare? Like, that makes no sense. I have never heard of that. That's just a horrible and for fighting, of all things. These kids are angry. Well, of course they'd be. They got parents that don't have it together. They don't know how to feel. They don't know how to vet things. Like, they're not being actually coached or parented, right? They're being taken care of in terms of, food and shelter, whatever. But that's not the only necessities that kids have, My mom worked her butt off so that we didn't have to go to a daycare. Now, there were a few times we were homeless, for sure, but we were together. I didn't have to go to a daycare. I didn't have to be taken care of by anybody. Very rarely did that ever happen. And I know if I had to sit with anybody, it was with friends. It wasn't with a stranger or nothing like that. So that's why I took it to heart, man, because it's like, don't tell me and don't sit there and tell me that, oh, you're a single mom, that's why you don't, that's why um you, like, we don't understand what you're going through because we're not single moms. It's like, that's fine, but you made that choice. But also, why are you offending single moms out there? There's a lot of single moms that work their ass off. They don't make excuses. Look at my mom. She had 3 jobs, 3 kids. She made it work. She made it work, made it to work, right? So that was a fun little story, and I apologize if I was a little more long-winded. I try to keep the details organized, but there was just so much that happened all at once. I just couldn't wrap my head around what's happening, so yeah, long story short, she no longer works there. A lot of foremen came forward after the fact and said, "Yeah, we saw her sleeping here too." And they were like, "Why didn't you say nothing, dude? Like, it's not about ratting people out. It's the fact that we all get paid from the same pot. We should all be working for the same pot, not sleeping on the job. Like, that's not fair to everyone else." So, um, with that said, here's the lesson that I learned. Okay, because she's not the only one at fault. I'm at fault too. Okay. At the end of this whole thing, I should have learned that there's some people that you don't give the benefit of the doubt to. And what I learned is I literally took every single phone number from any girl that my wife doesn't know, that my family doesn't know, took them all out of my phone. I'm done. I'm not playing games like that, you know. This was a scare in and of itself, and I don't want nothing to do with anyone that has ill intent like that, you know. And not in a million years that I ever think she would do something like that. But it was very disrespectful, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. I cried a lot in when I was with HR, because I have rebuilt my life from the ground up with God's help, with God's opportunity and God's grace, and obviously His grace through my wife. Um, because without her forgiveness, without her, um, my family's forgiveness and their second chance for me, I would not be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be in front of you on a camera, so I owe it all to them to, for all their forgiveness, and also my friends too that were with me through my mid-20s disaster. So, yeah, this was something that hurt me to my core, as a betrayal, especially with everything that I've ever done. And what's crazy is that a lot of people might judge me because I gave her gifts on Valentine's Day, right? But what I did was I also gave it to her friend. That's one. Two, that's the only gift I've ever given her in the 5 years we've been friends. And all it was 2 boxes of chocolates, one for her, one of her friend, and then a Starbucks mug that had like treats in it or whatever. That's it. I don't give people flowers, man. I give my wife flowers. I don't even give my mom flowers because she don't like flowers anyway. But the only woman in my life I give flowers to and jewelry and all that's my wife, man. Like, women are expensive. I only need one. I can only afford one. So, that's the end of that story. But like I said, I want to allude to something that I always talk about in the Bible. Is Proverbs 31. There's the mom to a king that gives him words of wisdom, and one of the things was, do not give your strength to women, the destroyer of kingdoms. When I said that to my wife a while back, she was like, well, that's a little sexist. It's like women, as in plural, not woman, women. And when it says give your strength, that could mean a lot of different things. It could mean sexual strength. It could mean, other physical strength. It could be mental strength, financial strength. And I mean, look at all these guys. I mean, who is it now? Right now, Shannon Sharp is being accused of something. That man, he wouldn't hurt a fly, just from what I've seen. That's my opinion. It's not a fact, obviously, because I don't know him. I don't know whatever. But I knew something was up. Sometime last year, him and Ocho Cinco, he was talking about. Oh no, just last year he had it was a live stream. He accidentally hit, like, was it Instagram Live, and he was banging some chick or whatever. Do not give your strength to women, the destroyer of kingdoms. Proverbs 31, chapter 31. That I didn't realize that I was doing that. I thought that I was pretty tame with my gift and my friendship over the last 5 years. Like I said, we never met outside of work. We never called outside of work. We never really texted outside of work other than her venting about the job or whatever. You know, anything personal, normally we just talked about it at the lab. She talked about personal stuff, and um, we exchanged advice at times, but for the most part, it was always just me being her friend and her just there, because she wasn't really, she never, I even told HR after I was like thinking about it, I was like, she never really did anything for me. Like, why did I keep her around? Why did I even like entertain that? I should never have done that, so now that experience has taught me to vet people better. And I'm very thankful that it happened because people got to see my character and how I dealt with adversity. The people in the lab, they respect me a lot more now after having dealt with that. I believe there's still an investigation too on the legal side of things, but there's yeah, I left a message and I'm like, hey, what's going? Because the HR wants to know like what's the verdict? Like, what can we like close this or what? I was like, he hasn't got back to me at all, so he's probably dropping it. He's just like, I'm not wasting my time because like I said, I went in chronological order for everything, and apparently she was just jumping around. 2 years ago this, and 1 year ago this, and like he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. So I'm not trying to dismiss her as a person, but her lack of accountability has shown way too many times, and life just catches up to you, and eventually you're gonna run out of excuses. So my fear is that those kids don't learn from their parents and actually follow in their footsteps, because that's scary. Because now you got 3 more human beings out there that are gonna be, not to talk ill will of some kids that are their kids now, but if you're already getting kicked out of daycare and you're not being like held accountable for that, just imagine when you're in high school. Oh God. I mean, even if you get that far, it's like middle schoolers or something like that. I don't know. But yeah. So I want to kind of go through something tangent here, but this is Finn Balor. This is my sister-in-law's favorite wrestler, I believe. Actually, no, our favorite wrestler, I think, is still Jeff Hardy. But then obviously a little mini Deadpool there. Now I want to kind of go through the history of my name online, Angel Ram Jr. So it started actually back in 2008, 2009. That was around the time that I was old enough to have my own like Activision account per my dad's eyes. And this was in Call of Duty 2. So not Modern Warfare 2, the OG. Call of Duty 2. And that was actually the first Call of Duty that had a console version. It was called Big Red 1. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, but go look it up. That was fun. That was on the PS2. So my dad got me into gaming when I was young. And I remember my very first game was like Mortal Kombat, and then there was another fighting game. It was like a boxing game with a guy with a fro, and then Butterbean. I can't remember the name of that. It was on the PS1. And I would have been like 3, I think. I remember that very vividly, though. 4 years old, I think. So when I got a PS2, one of my very first games was called Red Faction. I learned first-person shooters out of that. And first-person shooters for me became just, it was so much fun. And then I played third-person shooters in Conflict Desert Storm 1 and 2, back to Baghdad. And I played like Uncharted when I was in high school. That was super fun. I love that. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I believe the first Uncharted came out. No, sorry. When I was Uncharted 2 was the first time I saw Uncharted, and I was at Best Buy, and I remember seeing the graphics being so beautiful, the water coming off the ruins of a building. and coagulating on the floor into like a pond, and it was like reflective, and sparks were flying from the electricity, and just a beautiful game. And my dad was like, "What is this game? This is gorgeous. This is a PS3." And we got that, and then we got the first one, and the first one was like way harder, but I was so intrigued with the storyline. But I fell in love with gaming in that regard. So I kind of jumped all over the place there, but my first competitive like environment was when my dad was in clans for Call of Duty United Offensive, playing base assault, and then he was with a clan called CKI, Clan Killers Incorporated. That's a kind of cool name. And he jumped through a bunch of different clans. He made his own clans a few times, but I was extremely good at Call of Duty 2 on mouse and keyboard, and because that's all you could really do. But so that's when I started to snipe. I started learning how to snipe because a guy was teaching me. His name was Gramps, and I think he was like a 40-year-old or whatever, and I was 16. He taught me the art of click and drag, because back then there really wasn't quick scoping like there is now. Especially Modern Warfare 2 era, that was like big quick scoping time. So back then it was a click and drag because the ADS wasn't very fast anyway. So, but there were some players that managed to do quick scoping in that Call of Duty, and you could probably go back and do it now, but it's not as effective. And so I played in a lobby called Free Beers No Hacks, and they had two lobbies. The reason why I kept going to that lobby or that server was because it tracked your stats, and I believe I ended there with like 10,000 kills and 2,800 deaths. It was some. I remember those numbers because I had a really good KD in that, and I wanted to like maintain it. So, um, my dad was seeing the potential in my gaming. He goes like, "Man, you're really good at sniping," because he was never a sniper. He was a submachine gun shotgun guy, so he was an infiltrator. He played like Rambo did, where he was like in close proximity. So his name was Rambo First Blood on Activision, and then mine was Angel Rambo Jr. That's where the name came from. So I maintained that name, that username, and everything that I've done ever since that. So I've had that username for a little over 15 years now. And for a long time on Twitch, my name was synonymous with Battlefield 5 because that's what I played for the most part, and obviously Legends. So the way I got into Legends was I was playing Battlefield, but my guys kept trying to get me to play. Um, uh, Actually, I started playing this before. I think BF5 came out in 2018. So, I would say a few months before the game came out, I was playing this. But before that, I was playing like battle royales. Like I was playing H1Z1 and starting to get back into the gaming because I took like a year off. Between 2017 and 2018, I didn't play anything at all. So, um, I got into Legends in 2019, and around that same time, I was playing Modern Warfare. Yeah, and then when I stopped streaming Modern Warfare late 20, so September 2020 was my last, like, it was a competitive battle royale, like Warzone match, and our third never showed up, so we had just two of us. So that was fun, and we got our asses kicked in trios. So I'm not playing this game anymore. I gave it up, and I just stuck with Battlefield 5 and this game. So there was a stint in there where I played a lot of Smite as well, Battlegrounds. But I stayed on console. I didn't really play on PC at all. If I played on PC, it was like offline games, like the old Call of Duties and Bad Company 2 single player mode. But Then fast forward to 2021, I started my first tournament for World of Warships Legends, which was a huge success in comparison to what I thought was going to happen. Um, and the first three tournaments were won by a clan named Raid that was led by Juice to Goose, who's basically our only three-peat clan for that tournament. And I named it the Fleet of Legends, and I went through challenge.com and did the bracket system that way. That was a huge success, and my stream started growing in numbers. And as a matter of fact, if you go on Twitch right now, there's probably like between 50 and 150 viewers at any given time. But when we were streaming that day, it went up to 500 for those tournaments, and most of those guys were streaming on there. And then also, I was getting more people involved. So like, you had to stream the game. So if you were competing in it, one person on your team had to stream it. So I kind of did it that way. And the first tournament was damage based. So the team with the highest damage would win their bracket. So like if you were team if you were paired to another team, you had 5 games within that hour slot to play, or 4 games at that time, and then you just pick your best of the 4 and then add up your damage totals. And then if your team had a higher damage than the other team, then you'd win. So, and you didn't queue up at the same time because you're trying not to get in the same game, which rarely ever happened anyway. But you're basically just going into a public lobby, kind of like how Warzone tournaments were, where you go into like a public lobby and try to just get points. There were Warzone tournaments early on that were like that, but then they created public or private lobbies that they would have like 50 teams or whatever. But anyways, I did 8 tournaments for Fleet of Legends, and I kind of gave up after a while because of other tournaments that were coming about, and I just, not that I couldn't compete with them, it wasn't about competing, it was just around that time I was doing more at my job than I was before. So I didn't have the time commitment to be able to run a tournament by myself, let alone trust a bunch of other people to do it that haven't done it the way that I've been doing it. So I didn't really want to pawn that off on anyone else. Fast forward to 2023, I joined my first competitive clan per se. I was in their server for a little bit, Pain's Armada, which I'm still a part of now. We joined the Yoink tournaments when they first came out for the game, and that was 2023 was the year that they released private lobbies, so you can create your own little custom lobby, and that's how we did our tournaments. And I got my ass whooped. I'll be honest, I was not very good at that time. I had I had ambition to be really good at the game, and I picked Destroyer because there really is not a whole lot of good Destroyer players out there. Everyone's like a GOAT in Battleship or Cruiser. So I wanted to I was like, oh, I'll try it out. There's less competition for me to be good, if that, so let me just see what this is about. And I thought it was going to be easier than it was, but it was very difficult. Destroyers have the hardest job in the game, because obviously you can make the argument, well, they don't get spotted or whatever, but in competitive play, people know where you're at. They know where destroyers go. You have the least amount of HP, and you gotta, you just go through so many different emotions. If you get hit with one torpedo, everybody's like, oh, here you go, like. But it's like, if a battleship hits a torp, it's like not a big deal because they have all the HP. So we have more pressure on our end, being the vanguard of the team. But you got to be really skillful. So 2023 sucked. I played in the Yoink tournaments, played like complete dog shit. I had a few good matches here and there, but it just wasn't anything that you could be like, oh, this guy is like really good. It's like, no, that year was bad. But I took so after I took that ass whooping like a man, I took a step back. It's like, all right, get me off this team, the main roster. I want to sit back and just watch and learn what everyone else is doing. And then I started learning. And that year, I believe the month was September. So that summer we did tournaments with Yoink, but then September was the month that I looked at one of my ships called the Ostergotland, and that was when I started to really learn how to play. And I played the crap out of that boat because I only had like 12 games in it at that point. So then I went and like I saw how fast the torpedoes were, and I was like, oh crap, like that's awesome. Like let me see if I can make this work, right? So I did a bunch of different builds with it, and I learned how to play. And I had a buddy named Guilty Spark. I think he still owns the damage records, like 364,000 damage or whatever. And he kind of showed me a little bit of how to play it. So, and then I just expanded on that, and got into my first actual tournament, like full on tournament, with the skills that I learned from the 6 months previous that I have been training and getting better at. Destroyer play that we played 3v3 in the first ever weekend league for the Fleet Network. And my very first game, I got torped and died. So it was best of 3. And my very first game, I was like, oh boy. And that was in a ship that I didn't really play much. I was in the Khabarovsk. That's legendary tier Russian destroyer, little mini cruiser. And it's crazy because I developed prior to that, I developed the vision of where torpedoes would be, and I predicted that would happen. I was just hoping that it wouldn't happen because I was cutting in and out of islands on Islands of Ice, which I hate that map anyway. But I got torpedoed and died, and then we proceeded to win 14 matches straight to get to the quarterfinals, where we faced Joker Nord. And by the way, if you guys are distracted by me like looking down, it's because I'm looking at. I have this not ADHD, but like I'm looking at my here. Let me see if I can show you guys. Well, I'm just looking at a destroyer called Velos on my. It's my screensaver. I think she's beautiful. But anyways, I digress. So it's not like I'm looking at a script or nothing. I'm just looking at the ship while I'm talking and connecting the story together. Anyway, so got against Joker Nord. We beat them 2-1. And then in the semifinals, I forgot who we faced. I think it was Anchor. We beat Anchor 2-0. And then in the finals, we lost 2-0 to a great trio that was represented ATM. Yeah. I believe they're a Spanish fleet. South American to be exact. They're very, very talented individuals, but that was my very first tournament, my actual, like, full on, like, competitive, whatever, so that had a ranking and all that stuff. So my very first tournament, we podiumed in second place. My second tournament was Ocean Cup 3. We got third place on that one. And then my third tournament, we finally get the dub, and we win the Super Cup, which is legendary tier. That was very, very fun. I didn't play all 4 games because it was a 16-team elimination, single elimination. It was super fun. But I played every other game. So I played like the first game, the first game, the second game I commentated on, the third game I commentated on, and then the last game I played. So that was pretty cool. So with all that said, I'm just a regular dude, man. I made my mistakes. I've learned from them. I'm here to teach. I'm here to learn more than anything. This is the type of streamer that I am and content creator that I'm trying to get good feedback from you guys and just hear what I have to say. That's why I kind of told you guys the story about what happened with the girl and everything like that. The reason I said that is because like on stream there was people that could tell that I was visibly frustrated and visibly like because when I got the call from the officer, like my face went completely blank. I was so upset. I was trying not to show it, but I'm not good at that. you know, I love you guys too much to not be honest and respectful to your time. You guys pay for your internet, you guys watch wherever you want, and if I want you guys to watch me, to watch the channel and support the channel, I have to make it worth your while, man. I can't, take you guys for granted. That's not fair to y'all, and I want you guys to feel welcome here. You guys can talk about anything, and that's why I'm here, so one of these days I'll do a live stream with this podcast, but right now I kind of just want to see how everyone responds to it. And right now we're just over an hour, but I did a lot of rambling, but you guys got to know probably things about me that you didn't know before. So yeah, kind of ran out of things to talk about, to be honest, but that was basically what I had written down to talk about. So if you guys want to ask any questions, obviously I'm going to be in the comment section with y'all. So be sure to like the video. I love when you guys do that. And the more likes the video gets, the longer my next podcast is going to be. And again, be sure to put some questions in the comment section. That helps a lot, because then I kind of get steered in the right direction by you guys, what you guys want to talk about. But for those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. I hope you guys enjoy your stay here, and hope you guys like some more videos on the channel. And this is gonna be completely unedited, so you guys can see all the mistakes that I've been making here on the podcast. But love y'all. Hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you guys in the next live stream or in the next Rambunctious episode. See you guys then.